Hi there. Welcome to Market Insights. I'm Brian Christopher. I'm joined today by my guest, Mike Carr. Mike, how are you doing?
Great, Brian. How are you?
All right, I'm good. But I have to get through some of the stuff here. I have to tell the folks that they should subscribe to this, even though I'd like to think they already have. They need to like it because that helps us with our visibility on the internet, and also leave a comment if you have one. That's it for the advertisements. But hey, Mike, did you know that we're living through the Great American Reset?
We are. I think that's a lot of fantastic opportunities we're going to have on the upside and the downside. Because remember, reset means basically you power down your device and start it back up, and it's better than ever.
I'm needing to do that with my cell phone nowadays. It's a little bit more than 2 years old, so it's paid off. But I saw this headline today that also indicates that. Did you know, as part of this Great American Reset, that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to play their home games this year in Pittsburgh? In Pittsburgh.
I saw that's because Canadians don't want Americans crossing the border. So I'm not sure that's an example of the downside and the opportunities there.
That's right. But this isn't something that I would have included in my predictions with respect to what would happen from this virus. And of course, the NBA is playing in a bubble. I mean, literally, they're playing in a bubble. That's what they call it down in Orlando. And that's actually kind of brings up a topic. If we've looked at that NASDAQ index recently, I mean, it just keeps going up. It just keeps going up. I calculated some stats the other day, and the top 5 companies in the NASDAQ, so we're talking Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Alphabet, which is the parent of Google, and Amazon. Why did I put Amazon last? But they make up 37.5% of the NASDAQ composite index in terms of market cap, even though they only make up 0.185% of the number of stocks in the NASDAQ. And it's just insane. And at the same time, I don't know if it's going to end anytime soon. Do you have thoughts on this?
Well, I think that's the opportunity of the reset. There's 99.8% of the stocks make up just a smaller amount of the index. Some of them are going to be huge winners, and that's what we've got to look for. But, a lot of people say when the market gets relatively narrow like this, it's part of a blow off top. And they recall that 1999 NASDAQ 100 bubble. A lot of those companies aren't around anymore. Amazon is one that is. So there's going to be winners and losers, lots of opportunities. And I think it's important to remember what, John Maynard Keynes gets credit for saying, I don't know who really said it, markets can be irrational longer than you can be solvent. So the market's going up, we just need to go along with it. And then when it turns down, we'll stop. As you noted earlier, you would have never predicted the Toronto Blue Jays would play home games in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Predicting is kind of a tough game. And if we just follow the market action, I think we'll see that we can make a lot of money following rather than anticipating.
That's why it's so important today to watch the technicals, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think the idea of bubble is thrown around a lot, and it's hard to quantify. So without quantifying it, it's an opinion. One way to look at whether we're in a bubble or not is to take the price action and use indicators to quantify what's a bubble. In technical terms, and I'll cover this real quickly, I consider a bubble to be the 26-week rate of change more than 2 standard deviations above its Bollinger Bands. So when we look at that, NASDAQ 100 is far from a bubble. Tesla, a stock that has done amazing, not in a bubble. DocuSign, a stock that, is flying along under the radar. There's a bubble. Teladoc is a bubble. So we have some bubbles out there. But this indicator worked in 99, turned down right as the bubble ended. History says it'll probably work this time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And actually, since you mentioned Tesla, I should take the opportunity to mention that Ian King subscribers and Automatic Fortunes, they actually established a position in Tesla less than a year ago at $234 a share, and they recently closed half that position, and they made more than 5 times their money, if I remember correctly. It was a multiple of the 234, just an amazing number for a service that they probably paid, I don't know, $99 for, maybe even less. And it's probably good that Ian's not on today, because it might make him blush with all this positive discussion about what he's done. But that service is an entry-level service for our group, and it is doing so well that it's worth a look. One of Ian's main theme is the Great American Reset that we're talking about right now. So I wanted to get that in there. And actually, the thing that you said about the bubble, I think that's so important. And actually, I think it should be a bigger part of people's conversations in general, because we hear it on the news, we hear it on CNBC. Are we in a bubble? Are we in a bubble? Define bubble. You define bubble for us, Mike. And that's so awesome. And people that are listening, I encourage you to ask your friends when you have this conversation, what do you mean? If you define bubble as stocks are going to go down tomorrow, okay. If you define bubble as stocks are going to go down within a year, that's different. And I just think it's so important. And when we remember back on things, for example, in the late 90s, I was working in Mexico, and I would get my mail from the corporate office, and they would come to me, and I'd open it, and I own this Vanguard Growth Index Fund. And it included a little note along with it when I opened it up, and it said only 5 stocks in this growth index made up more than 25% of the index itself, which clearly was a requirement for what the fund, in this case Vanguard, had to do to advise me of that kind of concentration within the fund. And it didn't take very long before the bubble popped, before the NASDAQ fell. I have that memory in my mind. There's no guarantee it's going to work this way. I mean, when was it in the 90s that Greenspan talked about irrational exuberance?
Yeah, that was December 96. And he was right. The market was irrationally exuberant. It just remained that way for another 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm. And there was money to be made for another 3.5 years. And when it eventually did pop, it was something to run from, no doubt. And actually, when it did pop, it's great for you and your option service, because you can take advantage of the downside. There are a lot of ways to play this, and that is why the technicals are so important.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, the reset reminds me of the term in economics, creative destruction. Something's going to be destroyed, something better is going to come from it. And we're just going to see so much opportunity here over the next few years, actually, as this all plays out.
And as things change, right? This morning, I saw an article that the U.S. is going to force the Chinese to close their consulate in Houston. I mean, it's almost like this is the new Cold War, right? Like we've got, and we'll see what kind of market ramifications there are. Definitely, the Chinese stocks were down today. Tencent and Baba and Prosus and some of these other ones, they were down today, feeling the wrath of these disagreements, I guess, which we're experiencing. Not to put you on the spot, I guess, but do you have a feel for how this might go?
I think that from the bigger picture, these are concerns, and we tend to see these type of events occur when stress levels are very high for the consumer. When sentiment is low, closing an embassy becomes a big deal. When sentiment is soaring, as it was, for example, in December 2016, we did a tit-for-tat exchange expelling diplomats with the Russians, had zero market impact. Mm-hmm. So it's not the event, it's the sentiment. And right now, sentiment is leaning towards that bearish side.
Yeah, it seems like on social media, at least, we're looking for excuses to hate each other in every way. And I'm not just talking the U.S. and the Chinese. I'm talking U.S. versus U.S. as well. It's a little bit scary, and at the same time, it will lead to more market opportunities. As crazy as that sounds, when you add the volatility, you create possibilities for stocks or options to go up or down. Why don't we finish it there on that not so light note? But thank you, Mike. And I want to give you the last word if you've got one, something to send us on our way with. That's maybe, I don't know, a little bit happier.
I think now is just a great time to put aside what you think and just follow what the market's doing.
Yes. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for joining me. And I look forward to doing it again.